He had over $100 million in the bank, and he put almost all of it into companies that experts said would fail. Not one company, 3 at the same time. And by 2008, he was weeks away from losing everything. This is the story most people skip over when they talk about Elon Musk. The part before the legend, the part where it almost didn't happen. Elon Musk grew up in Pretoria, South Africa, not in luxury, not in poverty, just somewhere in between, with a mind that couldn't slow down. At 10, he was reading encyclopedias for fun. At 12, he taught himself to code and sold his first video game to a magazine for $500. But here's what people miss about young Elon. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about being smart. It was about a question he couldn't stop asking. What actually matters? What problems are worth solving? That question would define everything that came next. He moved to North America in his early 20s. No connections, no safety net. He started Zip2, sold it, then came X.com, which merged and evolved into something you've heard of, PayPal. In 2002, eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion. Elon's cut? $180 million? At 31 years old, most people cash out at that point. Buy the house, take the vacation, play it safe. Elon looked at that money and saw fuel. He put roughly $100 million into SpaceX, a private rocket company which had never been done, $70 million into Tesla, an electric car startup, at a time when nobody believed electric cars had a future, and more into SolarCity. The press called it reckless. Investors laughed. Even his friends told him to stop. But Elon wasn't gambling. He was calculating. He believed, genuinely believed, that humanity needed sustainable energy, needed to become multiplanetary, and that nobody else was moving fast enough to make it happen. So he decided to do it himself. Then 2008 hit, the financial crisis. Tesla nearly bankrupt. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches in a row. Elon was taking loans just to cover rent. In an interview years later, he admitted he was having panic attacks, couldn't sleep, knew he was close to the edge. He had enough money left for one final attempt. He split it, half to SpaceX, half to Tesla. If both failed, he'd have nothing. Then, on the 4th try, Falcon 1 reached orbit. It was the first privately funded liquid fuel rocket to ever do it. NASA was watching. They handed SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract almost immediately. Meanwhile, Tesla closed a crucial funding round, just days before it would have collapsed. 2 companies, 2 near-death experiences. Both survived within weeks of each other. That's not luck. That's what happens when obsession meets preparation at the worst possible moment. Today, you don't need to be a fan of Elon Musk to recognize what he's done. Tesla didn't just sell electric cars. It forced every major automaker on the planet to change direction. SpaceX didn't just launch rockets. It cut the cost of reaching space by 90% and restarted a conversation humanity had abandoned for decades. Starlink is bringing internet to places that have never had reliable access. He didn't ride the wave of innovation. He created the conditions for it. Here's what the Elon Musk story is really about. Underneath all the headlines and controversies, most people optimize for not losing. He optimized for what's worth building. And when you care that much about the destination, the fear of failure stops being the loudest voice in the room. You don't have to agree with everything he does. But if there's one thing you take from this, the size of what you build is directly tied to the size of the risk you're willing to carry. That's it. That's the whole lesson.